Yep. Okay, so we're going for. Let's see. Yeah, it's working. We're going for video number 4, and we'll look at the tracking, match moving, and for this I'm using a piece of footage from this very nice website, hollywoodcamerawork.us slash green screen plates. I'll provide you with a link. They have made quite a few very nice source materials available, and the one I'm going to use is the one called window set extension, where we have a small pan in front of a window that is green screen in the background, and we have a Christmas tree in the foreground. So I have this loaded up here. There we go. And you can see that this sequence is also squeezed. This sequence is, if we look at the resolution, 1280 by 1080. So if you think about it, what this is probably, or actually is supposed to be, is a 1920 by 1080 full HD format. And if you check your calculator, that would mean that the pixel aspect ratio should be 1.5. So we go in here, interpret footage, main, and set it to 1.5. There we go. So now the aspect ratio is correct for this clip. This clip has a few interesting things for it. It has this movement here of the camera, and it has a green screen that at least has two different parts to it. There's the general green, and then there's these green spots here that we will probably use for the track. Then I found a couple of nice panorama images to use for the background. So let's see which one it's gonna be. I don't know yet. But anyway, we're going to start out adding this to our scene, and you can see the scene will adopt the dimensions of the new clip. And then what I want to do is I want to key this. So that will be the first thing we do. I will key the very green. And you can see that actually gets rid of a lot of it. I could change the screen gain here, or I could go to the screen matte and change the clip black, and it actually works pretty okay. I'll stay with this. Other options is to actually do two different keys to take out different parts of the mask. That is also an option. And I can see that I lose quite a bit of the. Oh, that's the reflection of the light, so that's okay. Then I will put my panorama in the background. Let's take the dark one. There we go. So what we have is this. Maybe I should just go into my and push this clip wider back a little bit. Just a teeny bit, like so. Just leave it like this. So what we have is this. It's just caching. You can see it's moving very slow. It's because it's calculating the key and caching the result to RAM. So we get something like this, which obviously looks not quite right. So what we will do now is we'll take a copy of this. There. and then I'll use a tracker. Window, tracker, or in this case I have it down here. Sorry. After Effects has a few different ways to do it. It can actually do a real match move, track the camera. We'll try both, or it can just track motion. So if I go track motion, I can click here, and you can see I get a tracking marker. And maybe I will run into, no, it's okay. So I will place my tracking marker up here. When doing tracking, you need to find areas of contrast. So let's see. Do I have the bottom one? Yeah, I have both the top and the bottom one. So I need to put that over here. The way a tracking marker like this works is that we have the center of the marker, which can actually be moved if we like to do that. That is the location value that is transmitted out of the tracker if you need to track something, like placing a flame at the top of a torch or something like that. Then the inner box is the search area, the search pattern. So that is the pattern it's going to look for, and the outer box is the search area. So essentially what it's going to do is it's going to look for something that looks like this inside this box every single frame. One you have to take into account is when the camera is moving, your search box has to be large enough to accommodate the movement. And generally, if you have like whip pans, then you are very unlucky. You can right now I'm just tracking position, but you can track more than position in this tracker. You can also track rotation and scale. So in the case of rotation and scale, if I turn that on, I'll get a second marker, and that marker will see. Okay. That marker will the relationship between these two markers will define how much 2D rotation and scaling are going on when this is turned on. I'll just leave it off right now, and then I want to track forward. And we have these buttons down here, so I'll go Analyze, and we can see that this thing sticks pretty good. It looks like it's actually tracking marker 2 as well. Not that I wanted it to, but never mind. And there we go. So you can see that marker 1 has a nice track where it follows that point. What I can do is I can change my target here and apply the result to the target, but you would almost always, if not always, use a placeholder to apply your tracking information to. So you will use something called a null object. So with the null object created, I'll go in here and change the target to null, and then I'm going to apply it. There we go. Yes. And what you'll see is that this null is now following my track, and I can just turn off the layer that I was tracking, and now I have this movement here. And what I'll do is I will take my my background image and I'll link it to my tracking marker. There we go. So now as I move, you can see that my background is moving with it. This is totally fake because it's only moving it in 2 dimensions, and there's no perspective shift or anything. Or you can see that it goes outside. So just need to go and take the scale and make it slightly bigger perhaps, or maybe move it down a little bit like so. But in the end, this is actually this creates something that could be used lights, my candles are slightly transparent. But you can see that now the movement of of the clip looks much more realistic, because you get the little wobbles of the camera and so forth is translated into the movement of the background. Also, in this case, I have the advantage of not using rotation or especially scale, since that means that the size of the background won't change, and since it's in the distance, that should also change much less than the foreground, due to perspective and the square rules. So it actually works pretty okay. The only thing I need to worry about here is my transparent candles, actually. So you can see that they're quite, especially like oops, here. See, this doesn't work. So I'll go back and I'll fiddle with my key here, like so. Let's see how this works. See if we can see this. Sort of works out. I guess that we have a little halo around everything here. But if I just do ever so slightly, and then I can shrink this. So get rid of the halo, and I have this clip, and this actually looks like it works fairly okay. Some things, there's a little bit of jitter and stuff here, but it's not bad. It actually sort of works. So this is a 2D match move. Another option we can use is to do a 3D match move. And there's quite a few dedicated programs to doing things like that. What you can also do is, well, one of the dedicated programs is Ushu or Synthesize. Actually, Matchmover from Autodesk is now freely downloadable, so that's also an option. But if you have After Effects, I'll just go and import my window sequence in the foreground. There's this thing called track camera, and it works pretty well on sequences where you don't have a lot of movement that disturbs the actual analysis. So for this, where it's a basic camera move, if we just have a few flickering lights, it should work. But if you're filming something like a busy street, then all of the people walking and cars driving along will make it difficult for it to figure out what sort of movement it's trying to track, and then you need to mask it out and things like that. But let's try it for this. So I just click track camera, and it starts this analysis, and you can see it counts up here. So while it's this is a two-phase process. So first it's doing like it's actually doing a tracking of a lot of points called auto tracking, and once that's done, it's doing an analysis of those points to find out the points that are good and those that are bad, and then it will convert that into a camera, so that it will actually create a 3D camera that will reflect the movement of the camera in the real world. Depending on the scene, this will go very good or fail altogether. So this is, you can set something, this is a fixed angle of view. Well, generally zoom sequences is hell. You don't want zoom. Okay, so it's done. So I can create this. This is a little funny thing here. I can create a thing here. So I click here, and then I right click and I go create. I'll do null and camera. I could also do text and camera. Let's just do text and camera. Okay. So what this does, if you look at it, it creates a camera and it creates a 3D text. And that 3D text should then reflect the camera movement. And it looks like it's working okay. Right now it's going in front of the tree here. But what we can do is we can remove this one and then move the text underneath. So now what we'll see is the text being behind the glass actually. And what we can then do is we can make our panorama background image a 3D layer. And when it's a 3D layer, I can then change the scale of it like so, and then I can link it to my text layer. So now it will follow it. So you can see that when the camera moves, see if I move out a little bit, then you can see that there's a perspective change in this rather large background. So I think this will actually work quite nice. I'll just disable the text there, and then let's see what happens. So press play. Now what we have here is the effect that this background is way too close to the camera. And let's see, if we go to top view, you can see this is the plane and this is the camera. So I want this plane to be like very far away. So just go to the position here and then move it back quite a bit, like a lot. So set it to minus 20,000. So it's maybe that was too much. Minus 10,000. There you go. So it's quite a bit away. And if I then look through the camera, you can see that it's actually not lining up with my shot right now. So I need to change, first of all, the scale, and I need to change the Y position of it. Just make the scale slightly bigger. Okay, so now it should work a little bit better because now it's very far back. So it should make more sense visually now, since it's now so far away that we have a little flickering at the top because of the keying. Since it's now further away, the movement will tend to look more realistic. So this looks pretty okay. Actually, I think that I might even prefer the very first one I did, but this also works. So that is how you do basic tracking and match moving. Remember, when you're doing the tracking, use a placeholder, a null object. Also, there's another tracking option. You have something like if you want to do something, if I go to track motion, I can set the track type to transform, or for instance set it to corner pin. And corner pinning is what's used for if you want to place content on a screen typically. And what happens is that once you set it to corner pin, you'll get these 4 tracking markers. And what you do is you line them up with some element that fits to the screen, like so. And of course you should have something trackable in here, something that is distinctive. And then you track it forward, and then you can apply it. And that when you apply it to something, that layer will then get a corner pinning deformation, so that it will actually make the contents of that layer fit inside this corner pin area. So that is what you'll do if you want to do like maybe demo a UI on a mobile phone. Then just make sure your phone has maybe a solid green or blue or red something color. Then you can key that out, maybe even get the nice reflections out of it, and then you use the corner pin track to place your UI demo in the phone actually. So yeah, that's it for now.